Finally tonight, video games, virtual reality, and how changes in those technologies may be connected with economic behavior. NewsHour economics correspondent Paul Salman and Paul's avatar are our guides, part of his ongoing reporting, making sense of financial news. And you should know his story contains some video game violence.
You should feel like you're there. Oh, God. Oh, my God.
Video games, one of the world's fastest growing industries, with more than $80 billion a year in revenues now, more than twice that of movies.
That feeling of dropping is really awesome.
And at a recent developers conference in San Francisco, the race was on to try out a breakthrough that could take the industry to an entirely new level.
This is insane.
Though not yet ready for retail, it's expected to sell for about $300, the Oculus Rift is already being hailed as the holy grail of gaming, a lightweight, affordable headset to deliver totally immersive virtual reality, or VR.
A lot of us got into the games industry to build virtual worlds and explore, build and explore neat places. And being able to step inside those places for the first time is incredibly exciting.
Nate Mitchell, Oculus's 25-year-old vice president, gave me a sneak peek at the headset, driving a mech, a sort of weaponized robot, in a virtual reality version of the popular post-apocalypse game Hawken.
Up, 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 up. Ooh, yeah, this is pretty cool.
The split-screen images, what I'm seeing in each eye, don't come close to capturing the experience. But, begoggled, I was virtually within Hawken's Mad Max world.
Oh, I don't like that sign, so let's just get that. There we go. There we go.
There you go.
Got it.
Yeah.
Pretty mild for video game violence these days, but still...
Do you worry about possible misuse or abuse of this technology?
There's always going to be people who use technology in weird ways that you don't want to tap into. But to be honest, we leave it to developers to choose the content they're building and people to choose what they want to play.
But what will they choose?
We are entering an era that is unprecedented in human history.
Jeremy Bailenson runs Stanford University's Virtual Human Interaction Lab. While part of the lab's mission is to perfect the technology, its main purpose is to get a handle on VR's psychological effects, now that it's nearing the mass market.
In this world in which you can transform the self and have any experience that an animator can fathom, what are the consequences to the self? What are the consequences to society?
Is that as radical a change as your language suggests?
Yes. We cannot underestimate how radical this change is.
Fight, my brothers!
Video game violence research shows that if you put someone in a virtual scene that's nasty and violent, they behave more aggressively in the physical world. What we need to do is to think about the wonderful things we can do in these virtual worlds that can make the world a better place.
So Bailenson is designing experiments to try to do just that. First step for putting a new subject into those experiments, an alternate reality alter ego, a virtually real economics correspondent. Using high-resolution photos, lab manager Cody Carrots is creating a digital double to fool my brain into ultimately changing my behavior.
For the first time ever, you get to see yourself in the third person as if in a mirror, except we control the mirror.
Oh my God, that's so weird.
Cody, can you give me dancing? I don't know if you've got these dance moves.
Yes, at first blush, this seems a lark. But placing a convincing avatar in a persuasive yet manipulable environment was designed for an economic purpose, getting young people to save.
This study looked at taking a college kid and transforms them into a body of someone who's older.
Specifically, into the body or future self of a 65-year-old. The study was designed to see if bonding with their senior selves would cause kids to salt away money for retirement.
If I'm a kid and I'm looking at the older version of me, the idea is that I'm making a non-conscious connection that will stay with me and change my behavior.
Exactly. It's you can tell someone you will be older someday, but the visceral experience of seeing your image in the mirror as older than you are causes this deep connection to your future self, and this is what drives future savings behavior.
In fact, in a 2011 paper, Beilenson and others reported that those who had seen their future selves in the virtual mirror subsequently put twice as much money into a savings account as those who hadn't. And the research continues.
In future studies, we're actually going to build scenarios that show you what life would be like when you're older, when you don't have money. So a very visceral reminder of what poverty would be like.
The aim is to help subjects save more and prosper, especially those who don't act as economically as their peers, as evidenced in the famous marshmallow test. Kids who resisted one treat for 15 minutes got 2 treats as a reward.
You get 2!
And later saved and earned more as adults. So we asked famous child psychologist Jerome Kagan, could a virtual reality experience, or VR video game, change behavior and improve it for the improvident in real reality?
A lot of this is novelty effects. A lot of these experiments in the literature about you bring someone in and you show them what it's like to be old, and you say, now, how much money would you like to give for your retirement? And they give a little more money. But by the time you're 4, you understand the difference between fantasy and real life.
Well, but wait, virtual reality, the very name suggests that you can't really or may not really be able to distinguish between the game experience and real life.
I doubt that. You can always distinguish between being in a virtual reality laboratory and then leaving, closing the door, and going outside.
Not so, says Jeremy Beilenson.
That's going to make you take off. Virtual experiences are very intense, and the effects of them carry over to the real world.
So now what am I doing?
Basically, you're going to fly around like Superman. You're going to take off by putting your arms over your head. So put them up.
Okay.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Where am I going now?
Just go down, point your hands down. That'll get you back down. I got you. Close your eyes if you get scared. Okay, so you're back on the ground.
Holy, that's unbelievable.
Sorry.
Oh, I can see that would be just unforgettable.
Beilenson says research is beginning to show that virtual reality can have a deep and long-lasting effect on behavior.
So now I'm underwater here, and
fish going by.
In experiments, swimming with the fishes in water that turns from fair to foul makes people think twice about using plastic bags, which might otherwise wind up in the great garbage patch that's polluting the Pacific Ocean. And how about the effects of sawing down a virtual tree? On average, each American requires 2 virgin trees for a lifetime of pampering with that squeezably soft, non-recycled toilet paper. The feeling of felling a giant tree, however, can suffice to make some switch to the recycled stuff.
I get calls from people months after experiencing what you just experienced, saying that I never walked down that supermarket aisle without thinking about cutting down this tree.
And while we're on the subject of environmental awareness,
we have people get on all fours.
Beilenson is now working on a study that has people experience being cows.
We're trying to make a more visceral connection between an understanding about where your meat comes from and you're feeling what it's like to be led to slaughter. And
to led to slaughter.
You're led to slaughter, yes. And it's the idea of giving somebody a bigger connection with the process of eating meat.
But wait a second. Now we're getting to Clockwork Orange. You're creating an aversive experience that is trying to rewire me.
I think of virtual reality like uranium. It can heat homes and it can destroy nations.
The power to destroy, says Beilenson, lies not in his experiments, vetted by Stanford's Institutional Review Board, but in the unexamined spread of commercial virtual reality, where the lowest common denominator is likely to win.
These experiences we give you in this lab pale by comparison to a video game that kids play for hours a day. My job is to create virtual experiences that can help, and also to inoculate the world to understand that when you have these virtual experiences, they're not free. They change the way you think about yourself.
Or about your future self, for better or worse.
We have immersive stories of Paul Salmon. If you've ever wondered what he would look like if his image was morphed with the face of President Obama or Mitt Romney, take a look on our website. Also there, read more from Paul's conversation with Jeremy Bailenson on how virtual reality could influence political choices